Hello, and welcome to another episode of Clearing the Air podcast. I'm your host, Troy Hathaway, and joining us today is going to be Dr. Peter Saccone. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Saccone. So first of all, to introduce everybody, I want to tell a little story about us. So I'm going to set it up, and then you can kind of finish how the story went.
Fair enough.
So we met in 2014, I believe, correct?
I think so.
2014.
That's
Yes. Now you used to and still do, but another one. You used to have a Jeep, correct?
Yes. On my third Jeep.
Third Jeep.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. You had the one before. So when we first met, I had just come back from a off-road Jeep training course.
Yes.
So when we spoke, we hit it off. Fast forward to 2016, when I moved, I got what I call a Jeep.
Fake Jeep.
Jeep
Yes.
Liberty. Which I knew I didn't buy the Jeep Liberty thinking I was in a Wrangler all the way. But I did. I got this at the end of March of 2016. And for anybody who doesn't know about Jeeps, April 4th is
4x4 day.
Yes, 4x4 day. Now, if you don't know the Jeep Liberty does have an emblem on the side that does say 4x4.
Yeah.
It does have a 4x4 option. What I quickly learned is that it is not even remotely close to a Wrangler. I went out to a park and I wanted to get some mud on it, some dirt on it. Much to the chagrin, actually to the advice against it from my wife, who put a dinner in on a crock pot, and all I had to do was turn it off. I went out and decided on April 4th, 4x4 day, I would take it out and get it muddy. And I saw a perfect opportunity with a tiny, what I assumed was tiny, little puddle. And I thought, ooh, that looks perfect. I'm going to go in it and I am going to make my Jeep muddy and I'm going to feel like a man. And I went in said hole. I did not come out because I bottomed out. I got stuck and I then called a tow truck company who actually came right to the entrance of the park. And when they called me and said, "Are you inside the park?" Yeah, we don't go in there. And bing, bang, boom.
Yeah.
I'm on my own. So insert calling my future brother-in-law to save the day. And I will let you kind of share the story of where you were in your life at that point and why a 45-minute drive was so convenient for you.
What's funny is, when we talk about going off-roading, you don't go by yourself because that happens even in a Wrangler or anything with it. When I've gone off a few times, a little puddle sinks you because you don't really know how deep it is. But
Yeah.
But that's a whole other story for that. So I got the phone call to go and rescue Troy. What's also interesting was this happened in 2016, which would be about maybe 6 days after the birth of my daughter. So I was, were we home from the hospital? I think I was it was like the day after that I got home. We got home from the hospital with the newborn. And my wife is tired. She's had, been through labor and all this stuff. And I'm home trying to help out and do what we can do. And I get a phone call saying, "Hey, I'm an idiot. Can you come out to the middle of nowhere, 45 minutes away, leave your newborn daughter and wife and rescue me?" And,
yeah,
we did that. But no, the rest is history. Now it's a good story. Yeah. And I don't let him forget it. And
I feel I've repaid my debt a little bit to that. Okay. I hope I'm not interrupting. Yeah.
No, we're good.
So, for those of you who don't know, why don't you tell us where you're from?
So I grew up in Northeast Pennsylvania, basically Pocono area, Hazleton, for those who know the area a little bit better. Right, kind of our 80 and 81 cross. There's more cows than people in that area, so not necessarily a very big urban type area for where I grew up. So I went to school there, and then came down, went to college in Philadelphia, went to Philadelphia College Osteopathic, and then I had met Christine along that, my wife at that time, and we got married. We just kind of moved here to New Jersey and been here ever since. So not much of a detail to that. I wish I had a better story about Pennsylvania, but there wasn't much to say there. So we'll go with that.
What made you decide to get into medicine?
I always liked medicine itself as a topic. I didn't know what area or what branch of it. I know in high school, even before that, I was thinking like, do I want to do like physical or occupational therapy? I did sports medicine at my high school. We had a little training program. I used to help out, did athletic training with some of the sports there, and the field hockey team, soccer team, and did that, taping ankles. So enjoyed that. And then, so I was thinking that, and then actually there was an incident when we were there where there was an emergency with one of my friends that we couldn't really help out with. So then I started running with an ambulance around then and really liked that aspect of it, either the um, emergency medicine, that kind of a rush of things. And I really wanted to get into that kind of a area for it. So I actually went into medical school thinking that I wanted to do either pediatrics, I like kids a lot, or emergency medicine. And I did pretty much the exact opposite, where I don't deal with kids or take care of emergencies anymore. But that kind of bred into what the critical care aspect of the medicine that I like, with that
All
a
right.
little bit of a rush where we do that. But now it's more office space and nursing home than that. But I'm good with that.
Now,
So
what brought you to MedCorps?
MedCorp. Well, Dr. Silly, Alan, and I did fellowship together. He was about, academically speaking, he's a third year fellow. I was a first year fellow, and when you're in fellowship together, you get to know each other very well. You're relying on each other, talking to each other, learning, and so forth. So we, from that kind of a standpoint, academically, we got to know each other very well,
Mm-hmm.
and then just became good friends, and just we went out to dinner here and there. Our families knew each other. We really we talked a lot, and what was funny was I when he graduated, I know he went off and started with Shore Memorial and then started MedCorps. When I graduated, I started working with Rowan University,
Mm-hmm.
under uh, the late Dr. Judy J, late Dr. Morley, who trained me, which was an honor to work with them. And we were actually we had lost a couple of the doctors, and we were looking to recruit. So I
Mm-hmm.
said I actually called up Alan, and I was like, hey, we're looking for people, would you
Mm-hmm.
look and do anything? And he's like, I'm pretty happy. He's like, I'm going to spin here. Are you looking to leave? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I really like what I'm doing. This is really good gig. I'm happy where I'm at and everything with it. And he had, we kept in touch. It wasn't anything like, like, oh, you're not going to join me. Okay. It
Mm-hmm.
was that. So he was going on vacation, and he was like, hey, while I'm on vacation, would you be able to cover the hospital for me down at Shore Memorial? So I went down there and did his rounds. I was like, wow, I'm rounding basically on a beach at Shore Memorial here. It's pretty good view, and that, and everything was really nice. So like, I kind of get used to this.
Mm-hmm.
So we started talking about what would go into it, and it was versus history. Well, actually, a funny story. I'll tell you that, because I tell you, when Alan was recruiting and stuff like this, and I was pretty sure I was going to take the job. He
Mm-hmm.
took him and Carolyn took Christine and I out for um, for dinner, and we're just going to talk shop. And I was like, all right, if I hear this, I'm probably going to take the job. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I like everything we're saying. Just want to make sure that
Yep.
um, I'm not walking into anything here. So we were there, and we were having just burger stuff. It wasn't any. It was just a regular
Casual.
casual kind of thing, which is how we always operate. And I hear everything I like, and I'm like, I'm gonna take this job. I thought. So I reached down when I'd already obviously talked to my wife about this, but so I reached down, I grabbed my phone, and I was she on the other side of the table talking to Carolyn. I said, text her and said, hey, I think I'm going to take this job, and I sent it to her. And I quickly realized after I had sent her that message that I didn't text her, I had actually texted Alan. So I text my future boss, sitting right next to me that I was going to take the job that he was offering me. So most professional way. I
uh,
wouldn't have done it any other way. This is that's just me in a nutshell when it comes down to things like that. So
uh,
always good times. Always
that's a
good
great
times.
story.
So uh,
That's great. Now, again, for those who I kind of mentioned it, for those of you who don't realize, Dr. Saccone is my brother-in-law, and we've kind of had a tradition the last few years of going to Eagles games.
yes,
Now, a couple things. If the Philadelphia Eagles want to, supply us with free tickets, that would be great because they are undefeated when we are there.
yeah, we've not seen them
We have not
lose.
seen them lose in person.
I think that's
That
us.
I
That's
think
definitely.
that is us.
Uh-huh.
The Super Bowl kind of Saquon, yeah, Jalen, yeah, Saccone and Hathaway.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's kind of comical how our tailgating has evolved. Now, our tailgating at its best is pales in comparison to what the crew in the Philadelphia area do. But why don't you tell what was involved in our first tailgate, if you recall?
I mean,
I recall it as a bag of chips, a one can of beer, and having a celebratory cigar before the game, just to enjoy our bro time, if you will.
yeah, that was about right. I think
Um,
there might have been a sandwich, but I'm not sure.
yeah, maybe I think maybe a sandwich, but yeah.
And,
So it is now evolved that we've got a table set up, we've got a Blackstone, we've had Philly cheesesteaks out there.
yeah,
Our last game, we had people meandering over to our area asking if they could have a sandwich, which unfortunately
we didn't.
no,
No,
we
didn't
only
have
bring
enough.
enough for us. Not that we're selfish, we only brought enough for us. But I think that's been just a really nice time.
Yeah,
I love going to the games. Again, free tickets our way would be, just to continue the winning streak,
yeah.
would be great. Aside from the Eagles, what other passions do you have? I believe that soccer has been a newfound passion within the last couple of
Yes,
years.
yes. So we've been um, big into soccer lately. I started off. I played soccer for um, bad of an eye. I mean, I think I played for maybe 4 years as a tyke. Then I switched over. I had switched over to football at that point. So my soccer, uh, you know, resume is very short. But my daughter started playing, and we're watching. She was enjoying it, and we're talking. She was 4 years old at that point, 5, and they needed someone to coach. So I was like, yeah, sure, I can coach that.
Mm-hmm.
I can get this. So and really enjoyed it. So I was coaching her pretty much throughout the rec league time up until the travel.
Mm-hmm.
So I jokingly say I'm like one of the least qualified people to be coaching, but I've been doing pretty well with it. I'm kind of a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of a Ted Lasso kind of going on here, not knowing the sport but coaching it. But I was but that's definitely something that's come up a lot. So now it's kind of consumed our life as soccer does for pretty much every family with children. Is that now we're going to, I don't know, what Stella's now up to 3 different teams that she's playing on and all over the place. So it's become more of a lifestyle here for us. But going to union games, doing all that stuff. So dove right in head first and sucked in like.
Well, that's a problem when your child is so good at something. Right? Maybe she just could have been like a mediocre player, but
no, she had to go be talented.
Had to be solid.
Yeah, didn't get it from me. Clearly, I with my soccer prowess here of 3 years.
One of the other, I think that is just like just so cool. Like again, back to 2014 when we first met, we spoke about Jeeps, the off-road course. The other thing that we spoke about, you were heavily into, and still are, but as life gets a little bit busier with kids, it kind of fades a little bit. You were heavily into the UFC and mixed martial arts.
Yes.
Why don't you tell everybody just like the cool, interesting thing that you've got to do over the last few years, and especially last June?
So I trained mixed martial arts for 6 years, I think, was up to second degree black belt. And then I switched over to strict doing just regular jiu-jitsu, do purple belt for that right now. Taking a break right now due to soccer and injury myself. But we're going to get back to that soon. But so when I was in it, I was like, oh, hey, I'm a doctor. I like martial arts. How do you become like the ringside docs for
Mm-hmm.
those type of things? So I had looked into it, and I didn't know if UFC or this had their own doctors or was it that, but it is run by the state. It is their own commission. So I had reached out to a few different people, seeing if I could get into that, and really it was kind of a dead end. I didn't know, do you need to have a certain fellowship or certain specialty, something
Mm-hmm.
like that, kind of get into it. So kind of had dead in the water, and I was like, oh, I guess just it's not meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So enter COVID time.
Mm-hmm.
We were making videos for about COVID,
Mm-hmm.
for that kind of, for the patients and things like that, to put in our office. People would kind of brief them, letting them what we were thinking about,
Yep.
educate them as much as we could about such a crazy topic in time.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of them did make it their way onto Facebook, and one of my friends actually had shared it, and so when they shared it, I was like, oh, what are people thinking about? What are these comments? And this one guy had commented on it, and he was like, it's it's good for the general public. I don't know if I like not like doctor level stuff, meaning like for other doctors.
Yep.
And I was like, so I replied to him, and I was like, well, it's meant for the general public. Like, this is for that. He goes, oh, in that case, these are great. These are great videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I clicked on his profile picture, and he's there, and he's examining is of him examining a fighter, and he lives in New Jersey. And I was like, I said, no, Steve. I was like, I just see your picture. I said, are you a fight doctor? And he's like, yeah. He's like, do I know you? And I'm like, no, but I really want to do this. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, yeah, that's great. He goes, because we're actually looking for a guy right now. Do you, send me your resume, send me this kind of stuff. If you fit, we'll get you in. So, so that was back then. So when you start off, so you got me in, started doing some fights, doing this, and you're doing low level, like first off, you got the amateur fights,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, kind of like, not really no headline type of thing here. It's like, you get fights by it's a Mr. and Mrs. deciding where they're going to send their college. That's the fight you're doing here first. And then it kind of goes on to you build up some professional things. So and then all up to professional bouts, and I was able to I've been do some professional boxing, and then I had got to do the UFC fight last June, where it was the UFC in Newark. So that was probably one of the highlights of doing that. That was one of the coolest things that we got to do there, was to get to be on pay-per-view TV and everything like that. I got some other ones coming up. Got one in August. I'll be on ESPN, so that'll be fun for that. So
I remember the first one of the boxing ones that you did, and we went up to our mother-in-law's,
yes,
our parents, and I say our mother-in-law's because our mother-in-law was the one who is like just all in, cheering
yeah,
for, like, just watching the fight. We were there to see every once in a while when it would pan over and you could see the ringside docs, and be like, oh, there's Pete, or oh, there's Pete.
yeah.
But I mean, she was really into the fight, and again, the UFC, that was. I mean, you must have been just
Yeah.
kind of geeking out a little bit on the inside. I was geeking out for you when I was watching it,
Yeah,
so I can only imagine.
yeah, it was unreal. It's unreal to be able to be there, take care. I mean, it's an honor to be able to take care of high level athletes in general. I take care of. There's other athletes I do take care of, other um, things like that. So it's always it's really cool when you get to take care of that, and that your skills are that respected, that you're able to take care of that kind of athlete and that kind of a production. So it's a pretty cool, it's a really cool
Huh.
thing for me, like just to be able to do that kind of a thing for that. But it is something, I guess, the moms, because my I wasn't in the most recent UFC here, but my
Mm-hmm.
mom texted me and she was like, "Hey, are you gonna be at the UFC in Newark coming up?" I'm like, "Are you following UFC now?" Like, I don't know, but I guess so.
Yeah, you gained some new fans
I
just by
got
you being
there. We go.
so UFC. If you'd like to send us any free tickets
Yeah,
because of Dr. Saccone,
there we go.
yeah, send them our way. The other passion that you have that you've brought me into over the last few years is fantasy football.
Yeah,
Big on fantasy football. Now, you and I play in two separate leagues. We play
right,
in the Saccone Family League,
right.
which I've been honored and blessed to be a part of. Not so much 2 years ago
No,
with losing, but um, the we also have the Medcore
Metro League.
League. Now I forget who won the Medcore League this past year. I forget who. I think I might know. I think that might be. I think I have a ring,
I
actually.
think you do.
I think I have a
I
ring.
think you bought yourself a ring.
It showed up in the mail. I don't know how it got there. I thought you had sent it. I assumed that you had sent it in congratulatory.
I figured my past 3 years that I won it was enough, and I decided that I would just. I was like, I'm gonna. Man, it's getting a little old. I want people to stick around. So yeah, I decided I'm gonna throw my team this year.
I appreciate it. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Dr. Saccone, I really appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely.
And look forward to speaking with you again.
All right, Troy.
Thanks
Good
very
seeing
much.
you, my friend.
Take care. Bye. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to all our social media platforms, or find us on the web at www.medcoreusa.com. Until next time.